Hi, and welcome to Johnny Ross Fractional CMO. I have Matt Wiles with me today. How are you, Matt?
Hi, Johnny. I'm good, thanks. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
Absolute pleasure. We are live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. And if you might be joining us on the podcast, welcome. Thank you for listening. So Matt, you are operations director at Infoserve. You've been there for a number of years. Today we're talking about we were talking about what makes a beautiful website, but also what makes a website that's going to really convert and really help small business owners. You've got quite a passion on websites. Is it come through frustration of seeing crap websites in the past?
You know what? You're absolutely right. It is that frustration, and over the years of working in this industry, more than 15 years now, it's that frustration of seeing so many websites out there, whether it's just in my local town or Leeds, the city, because I work sort of north of Leeds. It's every week I'm seeing websites where I'm thinking, blimey, I wish I could just reach out to these business owners and say, hey, you need to do this. If you do these one or two small things, it will, well, I've seen it happen before, drastically improve the website conversion rates and things like that. So more business, more leads, etc. So yeah, I think it's driven by frustration and then a desire, a deep desire to want to help and just give that advice, if that makes sense.
You're the operations manager at Infoserve. You've worked with some big brands, designed some really beautiful, highly converting websites. We're going to talk today about some of the things you've learned along the way, some of the best practices, some of the obvious things that business owners should put into place. We're going to be talking about design versus content. We're going to talk about conversion as well. Where does what is more important? Does it need to look nice, or does it just need to get the message across? What is more important?
Yeah. So we have worked with some big brands and developed hundreds and hundreds of websites. And I think over those years, we were established in 1999. So we really started in that year building websites as early as that, very basic ones, of course. Over those years and over that period of time, we've collected a lot of data, and we understand what people do, the website visitor behavior, kind of, if that makes sense. What are people looking at? What are they doing on the website? How long did they stay on certain pages? And what I've learned and my team have learned is that, yeah, you're right. It's the first thing that kind of makes or breaks that next step is design, visual, how it looks, basically. And I've mentioned this before to you, I think, Johnny. It's similar to I used this analogy with you once. It's similar to maybe a dating app. You're very quick. We're all very quick, or we probably were in our day, just swiping left and right and things like that. Just how people look. Well, it's the same with websites. How does it look within those first kind of 3 seconds? So yeah, it's visually the first thing you do is make that decision based on how it looks.
So how do you go about making something look attractive then, in terms of on a website? How do you, because I assume you've got to be very aware of who your audience is as well.
You do. But the first stumbling block for many business owners and websites, the reason why I'm frustrated on a weekly basis is we as consumers are all using the big brand websites. So, for example, if you're a furniture company, you build and deliver furniture, then you might be a small to medium-sized business, fewer than maybe 30 employees, but you're up against some of the big brands, right? Because consumers out there are used to seeing websites like, well, I'm going to say made.com, but I know they've just gone into administration.
I know it's in the news.
Yes.
It's in the news today, isn't it?
It is.
It's unbelievable.
It's a strange one because they had a beautiful website. It was flawless in design and functionality. and I use that one a lot as an example. But their service and their offering is a completely different side of the conversation. But something like May.com, something like even something like Argos or Barker and Stonehouse, and all these kind of brands that we're familiar with. And from an e-commerce perspective, when you're buying something, we're used to the flawless experience of Amazon, and design and functionality plays a huge part. Those big brands have hired very expensive designers or agencies to create a beautiful, flawless website. So what small businesses are up against is they have great products, great service, even potentially a family-run business, but what they're up against is the big brands, and their website, their conversion rates on the website will be affected because consumers are comparing that experience between the Made.com and the small furniture company. So that's where design plays a part. Now, your question, how does a brand get a beautiful website, get a website that's up there with the biggest brands? Well, you've got to find obviously a good designer, and there are some things you can do yourself, which we're going to go through in a moment. There's things you can do to improve conversion rates on your website. So if someone lands on your website, there's certain things you need to have on your homepage, on your other pages, that get that conversion into an inquiry. But essentially, you will need to seek out and find a good designer. And of course, that means talking to agencies, having a look at the portfolio. There's no real good answer to that, Johnny. If I'm honest, it's all about finding a good designer if you really want to go to that next level. But fortunately, there are some things you can do yourself on your website, which I'll talk about in a moment. But
So it's important we mention to anyone listening or watching right now, we've talked about e-commerce, we've talked about consumers, but of course all of these best practices apply across every single website, whether it be a B2B environment, a SaaS product for a large enterprise. It's still, we are all people, we all use websites to shop. And so we have that sort of understanding of how a website works. And when we come to a B2B website, we sort of expect the same experience in a way. And so whilst we're using some of this e-commerce language and shopping language and consumer language, it applies across the board. And if anything, what I've learned is that businesses learn from retail. Something's done in retail, and then 10 years later businesses think, oh, that's a good idea, we should do that. And so it's sort of you sort of need to follow retail anyway. So is it about so what I'm hearing you saying, Matt, is it's not just about the sort of wow and beauty, but it's also about the functional side as well, and the button being in the right place, for example. Is that what I'm hearing?
You're absolutely right. Yes. Yeah. Design accounts for all of that first impression. According to Google, we work quite closely with Google. Google said 94% of first impressions are design related. So those first few seconds are critical. How your website looks, super important. But what we see, as you've mentioned there, is functionality plays a huge part. Certain things you can make sure you have in your menu, on your page. And you alluded to, some of the sort of e-commerce bigger brands there. So, for example, what you'll see on Amazon or some of those big brand websites is a simple search icon. So an icon at the top of the page, always there as well, and not hidden behind a menu, always at the top of your page, especially on mobile. So if you're on mobile, it's essential to have that kind of search functionality where you click on it and you can immediately just type in what you're looking for, and you'll see all the big brands with that kind of design philosophy. By doing something like that, by having a search icon that you can just type something in, find what you're looking for, but the conversion rates, what we've seen from website behavior and visitor behavior, those conversion rates increase significantly just by having something like that at the top of the page, especially on mobile, like I say, because people are very impatient. We see a lot of flicking around back to Google onto another website. It's just instant decision making by consumers these days. So you've got to make it really easy. And if you have a large website with a lot of information or lots of products, it doesn't have to be e-commerce, but just a lot of information. So, for example, we did one for a solicitor. They've got tons of barristers, and we put a search functionality at the top of the page so that someone could quickly go and find the barrister that they're looking for. But by doing that, it creates a frictionless experience. So that's what you're looking for, is that frictionless experience. And of course, there's other things that you can do on the website, other elements you can put in, which I can go through.
I like the phrase frictionless experience. I like that. And I think it's a very good point you've made there, that we expect things quickly. We want to be able to find things quickly. We're very used to search boxes for the likes of Google, for example, Amazon, for example. We're very used to the search box. But it's surprising how certainly from a B2B point of view, how certainly so many websites don't have a search box. And if they do have a search box, how terrible the results are. And actually, what you're making me think about here is the styling of the search results page. I mean, there's such an opportunity there. And it's often a page that's never even looked at until 6 months after launch, and someone says, "Oh, is that a fair point as well?"
Yeah, completely fair point. You're absolutely right, and we see that so often, and that's why the brief is so important. If we were to speak to a client who wanted a new website, we would want to go through some of the needs, the requirements, how many products or how much information, how many pages do they need on the website? Because we then need to decide whether they need this search functionality, and then how are we going to style that page? As you said, something as simple as you've typed something into the search box, and what does that page look like? It needs to be very clean, and on mobile, it needs to be really easy to read, but very easy to press with your thumb. It sounds really basic, but you need a lot of spacing around these elements. So that search icon itself, you've probably seen it yourself. Like, trying to click on those things on a mobile can sometimes be frustrating, and you can accidentally click other buttons. And so that's why you need to give these elements breathing space on mobile, so that you can click it with our big thumbs, and that's something that's often overlooked as well. So just it's as a business owner, it's important to kind of take that step back and review your website now and again. Just have a look at it from a consumer's point of view, and just, are these things easy to click on mobile? What does that page look like when it loads up? Is it easy to scroll and click? Is there any friction? And that's what you're looking out for, is friction, because friction makes people leave websites.
You said right at the beginning that you've only got a matter of seconds to keep someone and to keep to pique their interest. Which nicely brings us into conversion. So you've got someone on a page. What are some of the simple best practices, some of the simple things that we as website owners should ensure that we have implemented?
Yeah, great question. And this is really useful for business owners, and for those business owners who have access to their own website. There are some simple things that they can do on their own website that doesn't take an expensive designer or developer to implement. And there's also things that they can start to think about. So messaging is what I would start with first of all. Content is key. We'll talk about some of the elements you can add further down the page, but at the top of your homepage, it's really important to have a very striking headline, an engaging headline, but a headline that tells people, why should I use you as a business? Again, if you look at some of the bigger brands, I think Magnet, the kitchen company Magnet, do really a great job with their what we call the headline, the hero section at the top of the homepage. So you've got the menu at the top, and then you've got this beautiful image with a kind of headline text overlaid on that image, and we would use that space to just sell kind of who you are, what you offer, and why someone should choose you as a business. So it's all about maybe thinking creatively. I see a lot of business websites out there, especially on the smaller side. So the small businesses, local businesses, they often use this space to kind of say accountants in Leeds, plumbers in Durham, the kind of basic, this is what we do. And that's fine for SEO. That is good for search engine optimization. But if you really want to kind of elevate your brand and capture someone that's landed on your website and get their engagement, then it's a case of just thinking outside the box. What are the benefits of your offering? How does your service fix the problem that a typical consumer has? So, for example, I don't know, Johnny, if you're a kind of physiotherapist, a physiotherapist will do.
I was wondering where you were going to go. What job you were going to give me?
Yeah, it's always. I'm just plucking this out of thin air.
I'm up for being a physiotherapist. Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. And if I've got back pain, and I land on your website, and I see the headline physiotherapist in Huddersfield, for example, great, that's fine. But everyone talks like all the physiotherapists have that kind of. What I would be saying to you to do as a digital marketer, advising you to use that space to kind of highlight the benefit of me using your service. So I don't know, off the top of my head, I genuinely haven't prepared this, but it could start with live your life free again, or comfortably again, or get more confidence with our professional back pain service. Something that kind of really alludes to the result of what your service offers. So you're going to help me, you're going to help me my back, and at the end of that, hopefully I'll have less pain. And so what's the result of that? Well, I'm going to be happier, I'm going to be more comfortable. So start with that benefit, if this makes sense. So this is really off the top of my head here, but if that makes. Yeah,
it makes absolute perfect sense, and it's about giving the solution and giving the sort of the vision of what could happen, the difference you could make, and really drilling into that pain point and really understanding the audience so that deep down what the problem is, so that you can offer that solution and get across that pain.
Yeah, and the big brands do it really well, and they hire and spend a lot on marketing people to do these kind of creative sessions, sitting around a table. They're trying to come up with that kind of tagline. It might just be a one-liner, and you'll see it all across the big brand websites. Some of clothing to accommodation, etc. And it doesn't take that much to come up with something unique that fits your brand, and it's what we would call a brand message or a tagline, strapline. But as a business owner, try to think of that brand message, think about the benefits and how your service fixes the problem, the typical problems that people have. Why would they come to you? And if failing that, if you can't think of anything creative, that's okay. Just maybe start to think about your unique selling points. And that kind of leads me into the next point, is that underneath that homepage hero, the headline at the top, what I see quite a lot is tons of content on websites. There's loads and loads of content all blocked together, and it's kind of a little bit difficult to read. People don't tend to read websites and lots of content anymore. So what I'd advise to do is pick out 3 or 4 value propositions. What makes you unique in your sector, and highlight those pretty much near the top of the homepage, just underneath that hero section. So 1, 2, 3, 4 bullet points will do. Just very simple messages: established 1999, Google partner, in-house team, and personal support, for example. That's what I would say for our company, Infoserve. So something like that. And what that does is it just helps the visitor understand that kind of differentiator. Like, why would I choose you over the competition?
You're watching the Johnny Ross Fractional CMO Show. Today, we've got Matt Wiles, just to remind you, from Infoserve. You've been with Infoserve a number of years now, learned a lot. We're talking about what makes a beautiful website, what makes a website that converts. You're sharing lots of best practices with us. We've talked about the headline, making sure that we're covering it being a pain point. We're then talking about, less is more, making something look really good, but also having the buttons in the right place. So, thanks again for joining me today. One of the things I'm going to ask you, just to sort of get you thinking in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you what your current sort of, it could be scrappy, it could be something that you're highly invested in, but what's your current go-to marketing strategy that you're trying, something new that you're trying, or something that's really working? I'd love to hear what you're thinking there at the moment. But sticking with where we've talked about the content. What are some of the other best practices that we could apply on the website that's going to increase that conversion rate?
Definitely, yeah. There's 2 or 3 others, and again, this is something that a business owner could add in or ask their web developer to do. Pretty easy. These things are pretty easy to do. So one of the other things that really boosts conversion rates, and we've tested this so many times. We've had websites that don't have these elements versus websites that do have these elements, and it's black and white how much better this improves conversion rates. So reviews, testimonials, every website should have their reviews and testimonials at least on the homepage or on the main service page. So that page where people are making those decisions as to whether they want to pick up the phone or get in touch with you. So reviews and testimonials are super important, because what it does is it gives that kind of social proof. People are landing on websites, and apart from just how it looks and how easy it is to use, they want to know that others have used you. They want to know that other people have used your services and have had a good experience. And so reviews play that big part in improving those conversion rates. So just a simple section, 3 or 4 reviews if you can, that would really boost those conversions. And then also, if you have any accreditations, so this is kind of more kind of proofing as to who you are and and how credible you are. If you have any accreditation, so if you're an accountant, for example, you might be FSA regulated, or if you're a plumber, check a trade and things like this. There's various things that businesses can hold, badges. Get them on there. Another nice little neat section just with a few badges, maybe some awards if you've got any. But accreditations and awards make a big difference to conversion rates. I don't know if you've seen that yourself, Johnny, but we've analyzed this, like I say, this behavior, and it's incredible. People scroll down websites, and by the way, you can watch people on your own website by installing Hotjar or Crazy Egg. And what it does is we do it on our website, and we watch how people behave, and we see them looking at the reviews. They then stop at the accreditations. It's almost like they're looking at just checking as to who you are and are you credible. And then it's the phone call. They make that conversion. They pick up the phone or get in touch. I see that a lot. I don't know if you've had that experience with websites.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when anyone is ever buying anything, I think there's 3 things that come into play. There's the finance, the cost of it. There's the product itself, the service, the product, the offering, but then trust. Trust comes into it, and ultimately, people buy from people, and people buy from people they like. And one of the ways to get people to like you is by building trust, and by getting people to like you. That it works both ways. And so that reviews and testimonials piece and the accreditations piece is, without it, you're sort of losing a third of getting someone across the line, because people buy from people they like or trust. So absolutely, really critical, really important. So many people, might think, well, they don't read the reviews, or, who believes reviews. The fact it's about just having 2 or 3, or you said 3 or 4. You don't need hundreds. It's just about just showing from a social way that like you've said already, someone else has used my service or bought this product, and here's what they've said. And whether, it has to be authentic, but whether someone sees it as real or not is irrelevant, because unconsciously it builds trust.
You're right, unconsciously, and yeah, I've seen fake reviews, Johnny, on even on websites, which is incredible. I'd never recommend doing that, but the fundamental reason is it will build subconscious trust and credibility, and even just having that review section just does wonders. So definitely recommend doing that. But as we scroll down that website, it's again really important to be able to make it easy to get in touch. And we've tested a lot of different types of contact forms, and what we've found with those kind of contact forms you see on websites is we would recommend a single column contact form. What I mean by that is, if you have a look at a website, some of them have kind of 2 columns next to each other: name, surname, phone number, email. So, everything's kind of side by side. I'd recommend having it all just vertically: name and then phone number and then email. So underneath each other, one single column. Bizarrely and interestingly, obviously we like data at Infoserve, but it improves conversion rates, and it's as simple as just that one single column is boosting those conversion rates by a significant amount again. And I think it's because it's just easier to read. It's just that kind of going downwards rather than having to go across and then down. And then another thing to look out for on contact forms is the number of fields. If you can minimize the number of fields, that will also increase the number of leads and conversions you get. So I'd recommend, if you can, 2 or 3 fields. So just name, email address, message. If you have to ask for the phone number, obviously you need to put the phone number in. But if you can get away with taking that phone number out and not asking for phone number, that will improve conversion rates. Because as soon as people see that they have to give their phone number, they're starting to, that trust factor starts to kind of to reduce, really. I don't know why it is, and we haven't got the information. I don't know why that is, that if you have a phone number field in there, people just get put off by that, but it is something we're seeing. And so if you can get away with removing a phone number box, do so. So name, email and message field, and keep less is more. The fewer the fields, the more conversions and inquiries that we see. So a nice simple contact form change that will, really overnight increase conversion rates. And with that contact form, just make it simple, a clear call to action: get in touch, send message, get a free quote. That's it. No, don't go overboard with the message. Don't put too much in there, not too much content, and that should help those conversion rates.
I love it. Yeah, makes lots of sense. Go-to marketing strategies. Is there something you're trying at the moment? Is there something that's that's working across different clients that you're focusing on? That whether it be something you're testing and trying, or whether it be something that you're seeing really good results on. Anything in particular, Matt?
Yeah. Do you mind if I give 2 answers? Very, very brief. So there's two things that are working equally as strong, and it's Instagram Reels. First of all, Instagram Reels are working wonders for our kind of Facebook ads clients and Instagram marketing campaigns. And the reason why is that Instagram are going into direct competition with TikTok. So the algorithm is really heavily leaning towards Reels. So for those clients that we work with that are using Reels, and we're helping them with that, creating video, etc., and video content, they're getting way more engagement than those clients that aren't embracing Reels. And I know it's sometimes a bit awkward for a business owner to want to do a video, to get on video, but it can be really basic. For example, I was telling a client this week, he's a doctor, he does skincare, aesthetics treatments, and I said, you need to start using these Reels, because you're all over Instagram, you're putting lots of photos up, it's brilliant. But get on video, because people buy into people. And he was like, Matt, I can't do that. He said, quote, it's cringeworthy. I don't, and this is an experienced doctor in Harley Street, London. And so I gave him an idea. I said, okay, what about if we're creating a blog for you. We're writing 1 article a month on your blog. What about if you just do a video talking about a blog each month? So for example, one blog this month was, how do I treat dry skin? And there's a couple of headlines in that blog. And I told the client, just read what you already know, how to treat dry skin. So why don't you just tell people how to treat dry skin and just be natural? And he did it. And he said, actually, that was easier than I thought. And the reason why it was easier than I thought, because I was talking about something I know. It just came off naturally. It's a bit like me talking about websites. And he hadn't kind of considered that idea before. He thought he had to do some quirky things, TikTok crazy style videos. I said, no, just keep it. Just talk about what you know, and just literally use the blog. And even at the end of the video, say, hey, if you want to read about this, check out my latest blog, the one from August or whatever it was, and So that worked really well. And I was going to say, but I've spent a bit longer on that kind of point, but I was going to say, if you are using Google Ads, it's completely different. If you're using Google Ads, we've been testing what's called Performance Max. So Google Ads have launched this new product called Performance. Yeah, and it's working really well. It only works for those businesses that have a kind of higher average value order. So if you're maybe a florist or someone that's selling kind of lower price products, it might not work as well for you. But if you're, I don't know, for example, selling furniture, like I said before, high value products or things like that, then Performance Max, check it out. It's working wonders for us when it comes to Google Ads. But those are the two top tips at the moment.
Yeah, I can relate to both of those. Really, really good examples of really good strategies. Matt, this has been fabulous. If people are looking to connect with you, your company is infoserve.com, is that right?
That's right, infoserve.com. Head over there, check out our website, drop a contact form, send to us, and I'll probably see it along the way. So if you just send a message, we'll get in touch. Or LinkedIn would be, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Matt Wiles, and you should see me on there, come up under Infoserve. So yeah, thanks, Johnny.
Excellent. Thanks to everyone for joining Johnny Ross Fractional CMO today. It's been great that you've been here. Thanks for Matt for joining us. Please do like, follow, share, connect, speak to us. You're very welcome, and feel free to leave a review as well. We will see you all soon. Matt, thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you soon. Take care.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Bye-bye.